To construct the ring worlds which made up the Halo Ray, the Forerunners needed a massive amount of raw resources, and the perfect source was none other than an entire planet. Moved using slip space and gravitational tethers, planetoids would be positioned at the center of the arc within its forge. Retriever Sentinels would then strip every ounce of material until nothing remained. And we actually get to see this in action, as following the destruction of Alpha Halo, the Lesser Arc automatically began work on its replacement, and while this Installation 08 was not finished, it would have been fully operational in a matter of days according to 343 Guilty Spark, were it not destroyed, which, when you do the math, means its construction only took a few months. The Yonhet are a humanoid species native to the moon Yonhet, and are one of several species that once made up the Covenant Fringe. When they were first discovered, their population was relatively small, and they were viewed as militarily insignificant. Because of this, they would not be drafted as official members of the Empire, but due to their mercantile nature and advanced skills of locating items of interest, they were employed to salvage abandoned worlds, transport Forerunner artifacts, and clear derelict shrines, with the watchful eye of administrators, of course. Pairing this with their acceptance of the Great Journey, members of the species were eventually granted trusted roles in ongoing Covenant operations, although their convoy routes were heavily targeted by Covenant defectors, which meant that they needed constant surveillance and security. But when the Human-Covenant War began, the Yonhet showed no interest in joining the fight, so as the conflict escalated, they gradually phased out their involvement with the Empire. And while it is true that Kig'Yar warlords have targeted populations of Yonhet for slavery in the post-war era, most of the species would either keep to themselves or take advantage of the chaotic state of the galaxy, heading smuggling operations or becoming arms dealers. And in one case on the world of Venetia, it was even discovered that a Yonhet had developed a network of indentured child soldiers for hire known as Janissaries. Scout-class armor is a staple within the Mjolnir program, having been developed early on by the Materials Group in parallel with Recon-class armor. But the two have their differences, with Scout having focused on the use of advanced materials and optic sensors for increased stealth capabilities. And since it was one of the first, Scout would undergo several permutations on the Gen 1 platform, with its final variant being a component of the Mark 6 armor, all of which were favored by Spartans who specialized in infiltration and reconnaissance and were exceptional snipers. But where the Mark 4 and Mark 5 variants were rather basic in shape, the sleek and refined design elements of the Mark 6 variant are sometimes likened to the helmet and pauldron armor worn by UNSC Marines. Then with the introduction of the Gen 2 platform, the Scout helmet design would remain relatively the same to the Mark 6 variant, but it would be paired with a drastic shoulder and chest redesign. This new variant was available as early as 2553 and is notably the armor set worn by Spartan commander Sarah Palmer. It is also known that an unnamed party requisitioned a custom Mark 5 Scout armor set to be Gen 2 compatible, but I think we all know who that was. And surprisingly, Scout would not make a return with the release of the Gen 3 platform, although it is evident that the Sealox class armor used the helmet's architecture as its base. Luckily though, with the upgrading of the Gen 1 Mark 5B armor to Gen 3 standards, Scout has once again returned in the form of the Gen 1 Mark 5 and Gen 1 Mark 6 armor sets. Blademaster and Spartan killer Jega Rdomnai is a Sangheili known for his ruthless and sadistic nature. Once a member of the Silent Shadow, an encounter with two Spartan 3 headhunters would change him forever, leaving him severely disfigured, as he had lost his left arm and mandibles in an explosion. He miraculously survived, and later journeyed to Cheris Keep on Sanghelios, where he had what remained of his favorite blood blade turned into a prosthetic arm-mounted weapon, which he named Ghost Pierce. And while his use of cybernetics meant that he would be shunned by Sangheili society, he now held an animosity for Spartans unlike any before, and made his life's mission to kill as many as possible. In the later years of the Human-Covenant War, or even in the post-war era, it's not clear, Jega would join the ranks of the Banished, becoming the first member of the Hand of Atriox. He then became close friends with the Jiralhane war chief Escharum, and would be one of the many Banished leaders deployed to Zeta Halo in 2560. Here he carried out a ruthless campaign to destabilize the UNSC resistance and survivors, and kill any Spartan 4 he could find. And he would only be stopped once the Master Chief had defeated him within the House of Reckoning. But to absolutely no one's surprise, the Immortal Machine, as he has been dubbed, has now been revealed to have survived the encounter, now ready to avenge the death of his friend Escharum and continue his mission. Janissary is a term used broadly to refer to a variety of non-UNSC super soldier programs active throughout human space. It was originally used in reference to the Yonhet-led super soldier program on Venetia, which used children of indebted parents as mercenaries for hire, but the term is now used in the broader sense and has expanded to incorporate a variety of other private augmentation programs run by criminal, corporate, and even insurrectionist groups. Another example of this would be the work of the medical company Optican, who has recently devoted resources towards the stabilization of rumble drugs, as trust in the UNSC and the Spartans is beginning to wane. Halo Infinite's map Livefire is set in the Avery J. Johnson Academy of Military Science on the planet of Nyssa. This space in particular was a weapons-free training area for Spartans undertaking the Spartan Training and Qualification Program, and Mjolnir-powered assault armor was required to enter the area when a combat exercise was active. In the center of the map there is a tunneled hallway with a door that grants access to a secret elevator shaft leading down to a secret Oni Section 3 facility. This area housed Oni archives and a long-abandoned Brocker armor mechanism which still holds a set of Mirage armor. The Needler is one of several needle-based weapons employed by the Covenant and now its remnant factions, which for millennia had been favored for its simple operation and unique threat-seeking ammunition. Its earliest designs date back to ancient times, in the years following the Sangheli's colonization of their homeworld's moon, Suban. Here, a sprawling network of crystalline material was discovered, which when extracted and refined into fragments were called Chemiksuru. With further testing, it was learned that they could be weaponized, as they would automatically seek out an enemy after being fired. Once embedded in tissue, they would detonate, and if a large number of these shards hit their target in rapid succession, they would create a super combine explosion. It is also believed that the weapon was based off of a similar type of Forerunner technology. However, much like is the case for most reverse-engineered technologies from early Sangheli history, the how and why the Needler works has never been properly explored. Instead, they've relied on the earlier designs and made very few alterations over the years. Even now, modern manufacturers approach the weapon with the mindset of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Not to be confused with the class of Mjolnir armor, the Helioskrill is a predatory creature which was originally native to Sanghelios, and there is only one image available of this species, but they are depicted as saurians with 4 digitigrade legs, each ending in 3 talon-tipped toes. The animal's upper toothy jaw is beak-like in shape, while its lower jaw splays out into a pair of mandibles which are lined with teeth. A long cultural history of hunting these creatures meant that they were well respected by the Sangheli, who even adopted their unique hunting behavior into a combat stance. As mentioned, they were originally native to mountainous regions on the continent of Kivro on Sanghelios, but conservation efforts led to their expansion to other worlds, and this would turn out to be a good decision, as during the time of the Covenant, they were nearly pushed to extinction through commercialized hunting, primarily done by the Sanchayu. Luckily though, there is a sizable portion still present on Sanghelios' moon of Kikost. While the lethality of the Needler has classified it as a specialist weapon, its straightforward use and little need for precision has led to its large-scale use by Ungoi, Kigyar, and even Yanmei, relying on the fact that the ammunition itself will find its way to its targets regardless of their skittish or high-mobility tactics. Though, as mentioned, the Needler is still a specialist weapon, so it's of course favored by specialist troops, such as Stealth Sangheli, Special Operations Ungoi, and even Kigyar Rangers. Either way, the weapon remains incredibly effective and capable in the hands of nearly any user. The UNSC Spirit of Fire is a Phoenix-class support vessel which started its deployment as a colony ship in 2473, but much like the other ships in this class, would be recrafted and weaponized to help combat the rising threat of insurrectionist activity growing throughout the colonies. Under the command of Captain James Cutter, the Spirit would assist in a 5-year war against the Covenant on the planet of Harvest, follow their enemy to the colony world of Arcadia, and then to the Forerunner shield world known as Trove. After the crew sacrificed her slipspace drive to destroy the world and the fleet of ancient Forerunner ships held within, the Spirit was forced into a slow return trip back to human space, being officially declared lost with all hands by 2534. After 28 years of drifting through space, the Spirit of Fire was mysteriously transported through a slipspace portal to the Ark, where the crew was forced into a conflict with the Banished. And while their shipboard AI Serena had reached the end of her operational life, submitting herself for final dispensation, the Spirit of Fire gained a new one, Isabel, on the Ark. She then brought them up to speed on the state of the galaxy and provided them schematics for modern UNSC designs. Over the years, the Needler has seen minimal changes, albeit with each new game there was of course the introduction of a cosmetic redesign, but in terms of the lore, this has led to the establishment of several designs that would be encountered throughout the Human Covenant War and even in the post-war era. Those known include the Nale Hax Pattern Needler, best known for its employment by the Covenant and its remnants, which featured blue lights that run through the chassis, the Posu Galka Pattern Needler, primarily employed by the Banished during their battle for Installation 07 in 2560, which featured an ammunition counter. There is also a variant of this design known as the Pinpoint Needler, which has advanced targeting capabilities and a lower requirement for Super Combine explosions. And of course, there is the Type 33 guided munitions launcher. Granted, this is actually the designation for most other Needler designs, but the weapons that are listed in this variant are characterized by their more basic and symmetrical shape, as well as a rod-like handle. These were seen used by the Fleet of Particular Justice, Fleet of Sacred Consecration, and the Prophet of Truth's fleet. And lastly, the Type 56D guided munitions launcher, which was first cataloged in 2556 and features a holographic sight. There is also the Hailstorm variant, derived from a pre-Covenant Sangheili design, which exhibits a stronger ability to lock onto targets, as well as the Talon of the Lost variant, which fires rounds capable of penetrating even armor.